Welcome, everyone, to the It's Official podcast. He's Jeff Siegel. I'm Jeremy Plonk, and it's Travers Week. We hit 5 hot topics on the show each and every week, and we start things out with the Midsummer Derby. It's our first of 5 on the big board, the Showdown at the Spa. A field of 8 has already entered for the Travers Stakes coming up on Saturday, Jeff Siegel. We don't have the Kentucky Derby winner in here. We have nobody from the Preakness Stakes whatsoever. And yet it still feels like the 3-year-old race of the year. We've got just about everybody else.
It does, and there's one more race after this that might have some impact, the Pennsylvania Derby, and then the other races are for older horses. But if you can, for example, if you're Dornoch, if he can win a race like this, he would pretty much sew it up no matter. I'm talking about sewing up the championship, the Eclipse Award, if he will win this race. But if he doesn't, then the door is a little bit of it's a little ajar there, because I think there are still major races to be won. And even if it's not 3-year-old only, if you can win a race like the race out here in California, the Classic, which is actually the prep for the Breeders' Cup, or even the Breeders' Cup itself, that's a pretty big element of your resume when you try to figure out who should be the champion. I'm not even sure who the favorite's going to be. I guess Dornoch will be the favorite at 5-2 in this race. Fearness will have his backers. The filly, Torpedo Anna, certainly will. Sierra Leone might get plenty of play, if for no other reason than people will think it's his turn to win.
Right.
And then the others will be, Prices and all that. Unmatched Wisdom is undefeated, but I think he's really going to have to step it up. But the weather should be good. We should have a dry and fair track, and I'm looking forward to it. If you like somebody, you're going to get an okay price. You won't get 6-5 or anything like that. But the question is, with so many inconsistencies among the horses here, does anybody really know what Fierceness is going to do? I don't. It makes for very interesting must-see watching, if nothing else.
Well, let's take a look at Fierceness in his training towards the Travers Stakes on Saturday, coming off the win in the Jim Dandy. It's always about, can he ever put 2 big efforts in a row? And maybe this workout with the older graded stakes winner Bright Future will give us some clues towards that, Jeff. It's good race, bad race with him sometimes. He's coming off that good race in the Jim Dandy last time. Give us a little sense of what you're seeing here from Fierceness. And this is kind of plan B for Rapoli Stable and Todd Pletcher. They were going to run Mind Frame in this race and skip because they didn't think this horse would put 2 big efforts back to back. With Mind Frame now out of training for a bit, it's Fierceness back into the fray. What are you seeing here, and do you like how he's coming up to it?
I do, but here's the problem is he's never put back-to-back races together. A win, then he gets beat 20 lengths. A win, then he gets beat at 20 cents on the dollar. A win by 12, nowhere in the Derby. Then last time out in the Jim Dandy, he wins that. So this should be the down race. He looks fine here, and, he drew the 8-hole, so he's going to get a very similar trip, or at least I think Pletcher hopes he does. The Travers outside, he's got speed drawn inside of him. He's going to try to get over and get into a good stalking position outside, just like this workout was. The problem with the Fierceness I have, and of course I can list just as many positives as negatives, which is why I don't know what he's going to do. But the problem with Fierceness is that while he does run well in a stalking position, he's never really run well without being up in the fray in every race. And there is speed that could get away from him here, which theoretically would be fine if you knew he could run that way. But if he gets back 5 lengths off the pace, do you really know if he's going to, come get him, or is he just going to start going up and down? I don't know. I can tell he looks good. He's working well. I don't think the last race, even though he won it, it was late July. He should have had enough time in between races. That shouldn't be an issue. I just don't know how he's going to react to having to come from 4 or 5 lengths off the pace. And if he, I don't know. What do you think?
Well, there are 5 horses in this race that have never won a race from more than 2 lengths off of it. Every win on the resume: Torpedo Anna, Unmatched Wisdom, Batten Down, Dornoch, and Fierceness. All of their victories, every single one of them. And they have prolific win records, a lot of these horses, but they've done it all within 2 lengths of the lead. If there are 5 horses within 2 lengths of the lead going 1.25 miles, this is what makes the Travers a little different than most of these other races, right? It's not the Jim Dandy at 1.1 miles. It's not the Breeders' Cup Juvenile. It's not the Florida Derby at 1.16 miles, 1.1 miles. this is a mile and a quarter, and they always say it's kind of where the separation happens, amongst these top class horses. If 5 of them are out there and going with it, we will have to see, because what we saw in that workout with Fierceness is he started behind his workmate, right? Well, you're going to see a theme here as we go through some other workouts. These trainers are trying to figure out, can we get to rate? There are 5 speed horses in this year's Travers. Danny Gargan's got one of those in Dornoch from post number 7. He'll be outside of most of the speed except Fierceness. He's working outside his stablemate Ringy Dingy in this particular work. And again, this is a horse who essentially went wire to wire in winning the Belmont, wire to wire in winning the Haskell. But they're trying to relax in this particular workout, Jeff. They're going fast, but he's trying to relax behind a rival.
Well, I would be aggressive with him because he's yet another horse who has never won a race in which he wasn't on the lead or right there pressing the pace. Mm-hmm. Now, he looks fine. He's not going to get by the workmate. He's not all that willing in the morning, but this is not a race. It's just a workout. They went 47 and change, so this is about as fast as they want to go. He looks like he's eager here, and I can't knock the work at all. I mean, he does actually get up and get the win, so to speak. So I think he did exactly what they wanted him to do. He's fine. The question, though, is the race shape, the race slope, is it going to favor him? What happens if he's forced to sit 3rd or 4th, 2 lengths off the pace, if he doesn't break well, or if he's not quite as committed to go to the front as some of the others? He's a game horse. He seems to always find extra in the final furlong. Give him that. The title's on the line. This is the must win for him. And the way he's been training and the way he trained here, he's ready to run as good as he can run. If he can get the trip that he needs to win, then he might actually be the most likely winner.
It's not always that the Belmont Stakes winner is the horse that you just circle for the Travers, because it's a 1.5 mile Big Sandy, the end of the Triple Crown series. Maybe they're not still as good come August, but this is about as apples to apples as you can get this year, with the Triple Crown ending at Saratoga at 1.25 miles. It wasn't the awkward distance of 1.5 miles. It wasn't the different track of Big Sandy at Belmont. This is exactly what we're playing. And I remember on Belmont week, I must have called the race the Travers 4 or 5 times in our podcast, because it just felt like the Travers, and so we are there. And the horse who won that Belmont Stakes is Dornoch, and we'll see if he can repeat back, adding to his Haskell and sewing up a championship in winning the Travers Stakes. Let's look at another worker, Torpedo Anna. She's got speed, but they tried to sit behind rivals too in her workout. Where will she go? Well, she's got the rail coming up on Saturday under Brian Hernandez Jr. Again, all of her victories, she's 6 for 7 lifetime. She's been close up in all of those routing. She did come from behind. I did say that she did have one race where she came off the pace, sprinting around 1 turn in her career debut. We do not expect her to be sitting too far off of it, though, on Saturday, do we?
No, and I think with the rail, you have to let her roll out of there. I mean, she's got plenty of speed, and let's not forget that even though she just won the CCA Oaks, she sat a little bit off the pace that day. She got left at the gate that day. It was an amazing performance. And if you watch this work, she is really keen. She's very, very sharp here. Ears are up. She's full of run. She's going to turn in an excellent final time on 59-4 without even blowing out a match at the end. This was a really good work. I think you can't ask Torpedo Anna to come into a race better than she is right here. She's obviously got proven the form over the track. But from the rail, I wouldn't mess around with her. I'd let her run out of there. And if somebody like, for example, Dornoch, if he's committed to go to the front, I don't think she has to be in front, but sometimes these jocks going 1.25 miles. There's a longer run into the clubhouse than normal. And they might all kind of grab a little bit and try to play cat and mouse with each other. If that's the case, if I'm Hernandez and Torpedo Anna, I'd be aggressive. Go, let them chase you. Right. She's faster, as fast as any of them in the race, and use that rail to advantage.
I think one of the significant points about her presence in this race is the absence of Mystic Dan, right? The Kentucky Derby winner for Kenny McPeak. When they talked about the Belmont Stakes, would it be Mystic Dan or Torpedo Anna? Kenny was like, well, I've got Mystic Dan in here, so we don't need to run her against the boys. Now he doesn't have Mystic Dan, who is sidelined, much like we're talking about Pletcher and Rapoli with Mindframe being sidelined. So now Fierceness gets, volunteered back into the mix. She's in this race because, A, she's had an incredible campaign, but A1, if you will, in terms of the reasoning why she's in this race, is because Mystic Dan has been sidelined. So 2 of the major players in this race may not be here if their stablemates were ready to answer the calls. So Are they peaked? Is this the race that they're going to run their absolute best race in? Is this where they've been aimed to all season? Maybe, maybe not, but we'll find out with Torpedo Anna. Those are just some of the speed horses we've talked about in this year's Travers. Of course, the one closer, he's been the closer since last year and in throughout the entire campaign this year. That's Sierra Leone. He was the winner of the Bluegrass. He was the winner of the Risen Star. In the Kentucky Derby, he was second choice, beating a nose in there. He's had a lot of trouble running straight. He's got that paddling front left action. But last time out, Flavien Prat kind of figured it out, glue him to the inside, and there's not much what he can do in terms of, with that drifting in. And it worked pretty well for him in his second place finish in the Jim Dandy. Let's see how he's training coming in to the Travers Stakes here. Here to pick up Sierra Leone. He is going solo where the other horses were working in company. Here's his workout at Saratoga on August the 17th. What do you make of the Son of Gunrunner?
He looked great. Now, he only went in 49 and a fifth, so he's not burning up the track, and he's well within himself. And, as a horse that generally drops out of it, he's not going to blaze out of there and do anything fancy. But he's moving well. He looks eager. Again, his head looks cocked to the outside a little bit, which I don't like, but that's just him. He's going to look good, but why shouldn't he go in at this by himself, half from 49 and 1? The best thing I can say about him is he looks like he's maintained his form, even though he's danced a lot of tough dances this year. Obviously, Pratt is going to lay back. He knows that his chances are basically dependent upon what kind of help he gets up front, if any. Right. And he's going to try to make one run, which I like because there shouldn't be much traffic here. He shouldn't have to weave his way through traffic. Just drop out of it, produce one late run. If the race shape is in his favor, he'll have every chance. I don't trust him because I thought in his last two races, beaten choice in his last two, I thought he should have showed a little bit more desire to win than he did. He kind of waved the white flag in his last race in the Jim Dandy. But if they go out fast, and when I say fast, I mean somewhere around 3/4 and 11, maybe a tick or two faster than that, then and he's got a really good chance to tag the speed. Again, I think you'll know what kind of chance he's got down the backstretch when we see the first half mile get posted in the 3/4. Then we'll find out.
Yeah, if it's 48, 47, something like that, he's got a shot, If it starts getting high 48s in the 49 for the opening half, it's going to be tougher for him in that particular case because you're looking at 3 or 4 good horses that would have to come back to you. It's not just one speed horse out there going easy, right? When you've got 3 or 4 of them out there who are quality, the chances of all of them coming back after getting fairly easy fractions isn't as likely. He could be, I don't know. He's either the underlay or the overlay in this race, Sierra Leone, because again, he got beat at 8-5. He got beat at 4-5. If you're going to get $9 on him come Saturday, it's not a bad time to take the gamble when the race sets up for him. But the public isn't used to dropping horses that they have love affairs with, and everybody can read the form like we can that this race may set up for a closer. So you may be looking at an underlay. Sierra Leone could go favored in this race, and if he's the favorite, now you're saying, boy, you're not getting enough. So he's a really difficult read.
He is for me, and the only thing that I will say is other things have to happen for him to win. He doesn't control his own destiny. And if he's going to be well bet, and if he wins, I don't feel bad. I mean, let him win. I don't have to bet on a horse to appreciate the possibility that he could win. But when it boils right down to it, and I'm a racing fan actually more than I am a gambler. I'll admit that now. I just love the sport, and I'll make spot bets and try to make a little money now. Not like I was back in the 80s when I was a serious professional gambler, but in watching this race, I just want to see a good, clean race. And I also want Kenny McPeek to get rewarded for being bold here. I like trainers who are not afraid to be great or have their horses become great. Are you listening, people who train and own Next? This is a horse that is going after immortality here. What was the last time a filly won the Travers?
1915, I think.
Yeah. So good for them. She's already wrapped up champion 3-year-old filly honors. She's won 6 out of 7. If she were to add that to the Travers to her resume, she's a Hall of Famer. Maybe even without it, she would be. But I tip my hat to them. And while this may not have been their first choice, I could see what Kenny's thinking. This filly's training great. Nobody here is a monster, like that. They all kind of take turns. Why not give her a chance to be great? And if she doesn't win, what have I lost? What's what have we lost? Nothing really.
Yeah.
So it's not even the money. It's just the chance to be great. I like trainers and owners who have that sporting instinct in them. So I want to root for Torpedo Anna. Whether or not she's a gamble or not, I don't know, but I'm going to pick her for that reason only.
If I had to make a bet, it would be Dornoch right now because I like the way he's finished up on the back end of his races. Fierceness didn't come home as strong. You said there was a little bit of kind of dawdling and haggling at the end for Sierra Leone in his last couple and not finishing with flair. Dornoch just kind of wants to beat you when he's there, and I think he'll be there, and so he doesn't give it back. And so for me, I think he's the slight lean right now as we have a couple of days to figure it out. We want to remind you that Jeff and I will be back on Friday for our first call podcast where we'll handicap all the big races for the weekend, and we will hone in on our Travers picks for that one. Be sure to check that out. Let's go to topic 2 this week on It's Official. It's our West Coast notebook. Some good races at Del Mar over the past week. So let's talk about what's coming up and what we've seen in the rearview mirror. Coming up is the Pacific Classic in about a week's time, and we're looking forward to seeing potentially Muth back in action, Jeff. This is one of the forgotten horses of the 3-year-old class. Bob Baffert had some other horses in the handicap division throughout the course of the year, but his 3-year-old Muth was always probably going to be his best sophomore. Maybe not the most ballyhooed, but the most accomplished throughout the course of the spring. Of course, he won the Arkansas Derby. We haven't seen him since. Muth towards the Pacific Classic. News and notes there.
Don't look now, but this horse still has a chance to be the Eclipse Award winner in the 3-year-old division. Things have to go right for him. First of all,
right.
Dornoch has to lose the Travers because if he wins that, it's over.
Right.
But if he doesn't, then everybody kind of like in the same boat. Muth has some ground to make up, but he has the opportunity to do that. He looks to me like the horse that he's going to be one of the favorites, if not the favorite, in the Pacific Classic. That's a grade 1 race, $1 million race against older horses. That's got to carry some weight. And then he's got the fall races, and he doesn't have to leave the state of California. So if he were to win this race, the Pacific Classic, which is not this weekend, but the following weekend, and then come back and win the California Classic or even the Breeders' Cup or run well in both, his resume would be as strong as any of these. And I do think the way he's been training, the way his form was, he's got a chance to do that. And let's not forget, he beat the Derby winner in the Oaklawn Park race, the Arkansas Derby, and he did it impressively. That tells me how good he can be, and the way he's right now, a fresh horse, I think he's as good as ever.
Muth to challenge Timberlake, and the race is on now. Muth on the outside, strides level. Timberlake back in second as Muth takes command. Muth and Juan Hernandez have a quarter mile more to get, and Hernandez gives him the cue to go, and Muth off the turn, still in front. Timberlake second, Jess Steele third, then Mystic Dan who tries to rally on. Furlong to go. It's Muth. Jess Steele running huge in second. Timberlake third. Muth with a 16th to go. He's opened up by 3, and it's Muth coming down the stretch in Hot Springs to win it. Muth, the son of good magic, wins the Arkansas Derby.
Let's hope we see him in the Pacific Classic, maybe the California Crown, maybe the Breeders' Cup Classic. Like you said, still some big trophies left in the case for 2024 for a horse like Muth, who's been away since that Arkansas Derby. Also in California, we've got the Chosen Vron running this weekend. Pacific Classic still a week away, but the Pat O'Brien is coming up this week, right? And that's where we expect to see the Chosen Vron back in the Pat O'Brien. This is a race. It's a win and you're in for the Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile, but you're looking sprint when we talk the Chosen Vron.
I'm surprised they're running him. I really am. I thought they would either train him up to the Breeders' Cup, which he certainly is capable of doing, or maybe run him in the prep there. But they're coming back. You don't usually see sprinters at this meeting, this short meeting. It's 2 months now, so I guess they figured there's enough time in between races. But the Breeders' Cup, of course, is at Del Mar. He loves Del Mar. He was sensational in the Bing Crosby, earned one of his best numbers. I haven't actually watched him train in the interim, but he must be doing well. There's no way in the world they're running him unless he's telling him that he has to run. And one of the fan favorites out here in California. I actually think 7/8 is a perfect distance for him because you don't have to rush him off his feet. He has a much easier chance to get into the position and the spot on the race referee wants to be, because nobody sends their horses going 7/8. It's too long of a run to the far turn. No need to. So, but he's a fun horse. Again, one of the more popular horses we've seen maybe since Lava Man. And, he's won, what has he won? Like 14 out of his last 15, something like that. 24 starts, 19 wins. And he's not a bettable horse, obviously, at the short price he's going to be. But, boy, what a treat it is if you're a fan to go out and watch Ronnie run this Saturday at Del Mar.
Now, the task got easier because Arabian Night was retired yesterday, about 24 hours ago. He was supposed to cut back in distance to take on the Chosen Vron for Bob Baffert, but he came up with an injury. He is now retired, so no Arabian Night, and no way you're going to beat the Chosen Vron if he runs as well as he did last time out.
Vron now goes up to strike the front, and the Chosen Vron is the new leader as they turn for home in the Bing Crosby. The Chosen Vron leads them. On the outside, Jackstown is running a big one. Close the game. Sugar is also battling. Anarchist is down at the rail. They come for home, and just look at this. The Chosen Vron is just absolute class. The Chosen Vron and Hector Barrios win the Bing Crosby for fun. Second was Close the Game Sugar behind.
So it's the Chosen Vron coming back on shorter rest than what we're used to seeing with top-notch sprinters. If he's going to be vulnerable, the timing might be the thing that stands in his way. Now, we've got a recap of a race last weekend that could have Breeders' Cup implications. Maybe, maybe not, but we know she's undefeated and she's awfully good. Her name is I Scream, You Scream, and she won the Del Mar Oaks last week, Jeff. She hasn't been beaten yet for trainer Phil D'Amato, and I like when a filly or a colt is going well and the rest of the barn isn't. That shows just how good they are. D'Amato's horses have not run up the snuff at the current meet, but I Scream, You Scream has been really, really good. What do you make of her, the 3-year-old filly who just won the Oaks last week?
You remember last Friday, I believe, we showed a workout of her, and in that workout, they broke her off behind the older horse that he got, and she went by him.
Yeah, Rock Emperor, yeah.
Rock Emperor. And so it didn't surprise me that when she made the lead in this race, which she figured to do from the rail, and then took back, which you very rarely see midway when the other horse came out and took the lead, and then she re-rallied again. I think the knowing that she could do that based on the workout that she had over the course the previous week gave Hector Barrios the confidence to say, look, if you want to go, I'll sit second. She's not going to go with you. She'll just drop back. Made a second move. And then one going away. I as the morning line maker, made her 8-5. I figured that's probably right. And she was like 4-1 going into the gate. So I'm looking, what did I miss? I mean, what is it? What happened? What is
right?
When she went out and won like she was 3-5. So she's undefeated now in 4 starts. There is no Breeders' Cup race for her, though. That's unfortunate because the Breeders' Cup Fillies and Mares is a 3-turn race this year, Mount 3/8. So now they have to figure out where they go. But fortunately, you have a Breeders' Cup type of race at Keeneland, the QE2, right? Yeah. So I think that's where you might see her, although we've got some local races she could do it. But then the American Oaks at the end of the year. But a terrific filly, obviously a very versatile filly. And I was so impressed with this win, being surprised at that she wasn't the favorite. They piled on Whiskey Decision at 6-5. I thought she was good, but I didn't think she was better than I Scream, You Scream. And it came out that the daughter of Twirling Candy was much the best.
Yeah, let's go back and take a look at that with a nice $8 mutual in the end.
Scream, You Scream has come right back at Whiskey Decision and in fact has gone on by. On the outside, Maduro is running a big one too. They are homeward bound. I Scream, You Scream now gets the lead. Maduro on the outside running a big one. Inside of that, Zona Verde. They come for home. I Scream, You Scream, hanging on tenaciously. Maduro can get her. I Scream, You Scream, and Hector Barrios have won it. Second place will go to Maduro. In the third spot was Zona.
Mile and 1/8 there in the Del Mar Oaks. You're right. We don't want to send her a 1 3/8 against older mares. So Breeders' Cup Filly Mare Turf, not going to be an option. You can cut back, and we see a lot of European 3-year-old fillies come in running the Breeders' Cup Mile against the boys, but that doesn't seem like the right spot either. The Queen Elizabeth II Challenge Cup at Keeneland, back at a 1 1/8. What she just won there in the Del Mar Oaks makes a lot of sense. Phil D'Amato has supported the Keeneland meet really strongly in recent years by sending quite a few horses there. I'd be surprised if she's healthy that she doesn't show up in October at Keeneland for the QE2. That just makes the most sense. But she's a really interesting one. And those fillies and mares on the turf, there's a great program for them in Southern California. We talk about the Matriarch, the Yellow Ribbon, all those races throughout the course of the year for older mares. She could be one that we're talking about for a long time in SoCal.
No question at all. I mean, it's because of her versatility. Don't forget, she won sprinting. She won going a mile. Now she's going a mile and an eighth. She's handy. She can win on the lead. She can sit off the pace. Her numbers are legitimate. She's beating good fillies. Why not run in the QE2, run in the American Oaks at the end of the year and wrap up the year undefeated? I think that's a possibility. I really, really do.
That wraps our West Coast Notebook. Let's go to topic number 3 this week on It's Official. Our Breeders' Cup tracker. We've got a race in the Distaff division to talk about, and one that could impact the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf Sprint. Maybe the Juvenile Turf going 2 turns, but probably the Turf Sprint. Our Breeders' Cup tracker takes us 2 races. First up, the Alabama, where Power Squeeze was the winner last week at Saratoga.
Candide revving up on the outside, coming to her, and Chitalis just drifted out, bumping with Miss Justify. Miss Justify and Candide are head and head coming to the 8th pole, and Power Squeeze is finishing with a flourish in the middle of the track. Outside of her, just basking, it's Candide, Power Squeeze. Candide head and head with Power Squeeze. Power Squeeze on the outside, and Candide in an absolute ding-dong battle. Photo finish! It's too close to call in the Alabama, presented by Keeneland Sales. Power Squeeze and Candide hit the wire together.
You could tell from the reaction from Todd Pletcher, it wasn't going to be good for Candide there. He knew that he just got nailed at the wire in what was a tough beat. Power Squeeze, Jeff, she just keeps doing it for Jorge Delgado. She's got 5 wins on the year now. She's won over 4 different tracks, Tampa, Gulfstream, Delaware Park, and the Oaks last time, and now at Saratoga winning the Alabama. It's a heck of a season for her, but how good is she with Torpedo Anna, of course, taking on the boys? That made the Alabama a much less difficult test.
Well, she doesn't run fast numbers, but I'll give credit to her. She's relentless. She's now won 6 out of 10. She won the Gulfstream Park Oaks earlier this year. Then she won the Delaware Oaks. Now she wins the Alabama. That's going to look pretty good on the catalog page. I can tell you that. I don't know whether you can sit back and say, oh, well, now let's take on the big girls, the best of the older mares. I don't think she's up to that. I mean, there's nowhere else really she can go other than trying them. Why not at this stage? And she's not going to be champion filly. Torpedo Anna is going to get that. So at this stage of the game, I think you just try to maximize her earning potential and try to keep her winning and go where maybe win the secondary races. They could get ambitious and win the Breeders' Cup, try the Breeders' Cup, but realistically, based on her form, and she's run 10 times, so she's kind of established what she is. I mean, again, tip my hat to her durability and her consistency, but I don't think she's the kind that would warrant much of a look against the older mares. I mean, I don't think she's going to come out here and beat Adira Manor, at Del Mar. Right. And there's a few others in there that like Torpedo Anna, maybe another one, and there's a few others as well. So good for her. She won the Alabama. That's something that's as prestigious a race maybe as a 3-year-old filly can win, and she'll take that to the breeding set someday.
This is one where I say just come back quick. The cotillion at the Parks will be at the end of September. Just come back on like the 4 weeks because there's nowhere really. I agree. I don't think she contends with the older mares and is a Breeders' Cup distaff kind of horse, Idiomatic, and those kind are even kind of up against it against Adira Manor as good as she's been this year. I wouldn't look at the Breeders' Cup for and Jorge Delgado, of course, based in South Florida. There's no money in the distaff division at Gulfstream Park. You look at the stake schedule there, you think if you got a colt, you got races like the Pegasus World Cup. If you got a turf mare, Pegasus Filly and Mare Turf, some of these big races, but there's not a lot of money in the distaff division. I don't know if you can run for more than 250, 300,000 with a distaffer. You got to go all the way to Oaklawn in April probably until you can catch a good race early in the year worth some money for an older filly and mare in the Apple Blossom. So run now, right? If you don't run now and you're not going to the Breeders' Cup, she's probably one prep and maybe in the Apple Blossom is kind of like what you're looking at next year. So I'd say go to the cotillion. That's going to be a big 7-figure race, right? $1 million for the cotillion. Why not?
Yeah, especially now where at this stage you want to pad her resume, but you also want to go after the big money. And you pointed out a good thing. older fillies and mares going along on the main track, they have some prestigious races and they're worth their weight in gold, really, as a broodmare prospect, either they through the ring or their foals. But there aren't that many chances. So that's what I would do with her. If she's acting well and she's screaming to run, you run her in the contingent, and then you can put her away for the winter and bring her back. And there's enough, there's enough good races for older mares in the spring and the summer that you can make it worthwhile for her.
And I know we always want to talk class, and some people will snuff at pedigree, but she's by Union Rags out of an Awesome Again mare, and in a 1.25 miles, it didn't matter that she had wins at Tampa or Delaware. She's a 1.25 miles horse, and she was able to wear down the more ballyhooed Candied in the stretch there. And I know that pedigree had a little bit of influence to do so with what she's got top and bottom. Now, let's go across the pond for our one race on the Breeders' Cup tracker this week. It was the Prix Morny for 2-year-old sprinters in France. Aidan O'Brien looks like he's got quite a hand to play in this year's Breeders' Cup, as he does a lot of years. Maybe he's got another one here from the Prix Morny. Let's go and take a look at this victory by Whistle Jacket.
2 furlongs from the finish. Estepona, the big price blue might going okay. Shareholders ridden along, a little bit hidden against the running rail. Polly Vega, 4 from the left, beginning to make some progress. Arabian Dusk is there as well. It's still, though, Whistle Jacket in the green showing in front. Rashabar on the left is producing the biggest challenge as they race towards the line. Daylight and Arabia, the next couple of runners. Whistle Jacket in front. Rashabar trying to get to it, but Whistle Jacket has made all to win to Rashabar in second place. Daylight, Arabi and Epsom Blue Sen with the next group of runners home.
We're worried in the U.S. whether or not Power Squeeze can come back in 3-4 weeks for the cotillion. This one's coming back on Group 1 races 8 days apart in Europe. Aidan O'Brien has no trouble doing that. The no, nay, never offspring in here, winning the Prix Morny. Jeff, what do you make of Whistle Jacket?
Well, Euros can do well at the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf Sprint. They won the last pair. And I know after the race, Aidan was talking about he's a very fast horse. He referred to him as a Breeders' Cup type of horse. So he's coming. I mean, all things being equal. He came back in 8 days. He had run a very good second 8 days prior to that race in a Group 1 in Ireland. And then he comes back, and they asked him about that after he won the Prix Morny. Were you worried about the quick turnaround? And he said, not really, not with this horse. He's a durable, genuine, fast horse. Legitimate horse, and I haven't seen anything that's blown me over in among the American 2-year-old turf sprinters this year. That could change in a day, though. You never know what
Sure.
Come. But right now, a horse like this, Group 1 winner, Group 1 place in a race in which the Euros have done well with at Del Mar, it's 5/8 of a mile. He's fast. He's on the lead every time. I would think he would be among the major players in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf Sprint if he maintains his form. His name is Jackson.
Yeah, keep that name in mind. He's running April, May, June, July, and twice in August. Already 6 starts.
Baby him over there. They let him run,
Yep. Now, one horse who's not running, unfortunately, he ran once on one really big day, is our subject of topic number 4. Strike 3, he's out. Pull the trigger, send him back to the dugout. Rich Strike, the 2022 Kentucky Derby winner, the one-hit wonder of one-hit wonders, probably when we talk in Kentucky Derby lore over the last 25 years. Looks like he will be retiring after suffering another injury. Let's go back and relive the one day when everybody knew his name.
And Epicenter is coming up on the outside. Epicenter has taken the lead as they arrive into the final furlong. Sandon is coming after him. Epicenter and Sandon, these two, stride for stride. Simplification down the outside is next. They're coming down to the wire. Epicenter, Sandon, Rich Strike is coming up on the inside. Oh my goodness, the longest shot has won the Kentucky Derby. Rich Strike has done it in a stunning, unbelievable upset. How unbelievable. It looks like his career will finish 2 for 14.
He had the win at Churchill Downs prior as a 2-year-old when he was claimed. He had the win in a maiden claimer, and he had that Kentucky Derby victory, 0 for 9 outside of Churchill Downs. And Jeff, after that Kentucky Derby victory, 6 starts, just 1 third-place finish on the positive side of things. Never won a race again.
But, he wasn't that bad. If he had a much better owner trainer, let's put it that way, who had the experience to know how to handle a horse like this, he could have been okay. I'm going to tell you why. I didn't even remember this myself until I went back and researched it. But did you know that later that year, in 2022, as a 3-year-old, he ran 4th in the Breeders' Cup Classic behind Flightline, Olympiad, and Taba. Behind him in that race, Life is Good, Hot Rod Charlie, Happy Savior, and Epicenter. So it wasn't like he was a one-hit wonder, a maiden claiming racing in the Derby, but given a different set of circumstances with a different people calling the shots and not ending up suing each other and this horse had more ability than he'll ever be given credit for. He's going to probably go to stud. He's by a non-sire of sires and Keen Ice. I don't know what kind of following he's going to have as a stud, probably very little. It is, you look back at him and he really never had a chance other than the day that he showed up in the Derby to really show what he could have been had things gone his way.
Of course, the owner you talk about was Rick Dawson, the original trainer, Eric Reed. And then, of course, the original trainer, I believe, was Joe Sharp. And then they claimed the horse off of Joe Sharp in that maiden claiming race. Eric Reed took over, went through the Kentucky Derby series. And then all the drama just seemed to hit. Some people don't handle success well, and that's probably the moral to the story and what we see there. And like his sire, Keen Ice, he had that one great day, right? Setting American Pharoah in his one shining moment at Saratoga and the Travers back in 2015. But it looks like the career for Rich Strike is over, and we will see. Maybe this horse will surprise us and really produce in the breeding shed and be one of those where, like he was underrated because, like you said, he was not necessarily underrated. He was undervalued or underused properly, misused. I guess.
He was under something. I know that. Yeah. And then he was a better horse than his form will show.
His offspring will show that there's a little more there than what we got to see.
He is the original one-hit wonder, the question mark in the Mysterians with 96 tears type of one-hit wonder in the 60s. But if things had been different, he might have actually, been okay.
He will always be remembered, though. There's something about a Kentucky Derby winner. We're never going to forget Mind That Bird. We're never going to forget Rich Strike. All these Derby winners, they find their spot and kind of etch their place in history. And his name will be painted on the side of Churchill Downs for generations to come. And you can never take that away. That's what makes the Derby so special, is those Derby winners are never forgotten. Let's go to a horse that we're going to try to remember in the future, our star of tomorrow. Each week here on the podcast, we try to find a horse coming out of the maiden or allowance races, stepping up in class that you're going to be talking about in a stakes race sometime soon. Let's go back to August 18th at Del Mar. Tenma making the career debut, 2-year-old filly with a future.
Behind them, Tenma is trying to get involved as well. And then back to Mac and Cheese and Wren. Top of the lane now, and Usha is clear by 4, but they're coming after her now. Usha's only clear by 3. Mancuso between runners, and Tenma on the outside in the blue cap. 3 of them can win it. Tenma on the outside. Battling on gamely as Usha, but now she's given up on the inside. Mancuso's in with a shot too. Mancuso, Tenma down to these two. Tenma on the outside to win it. Tenma has won it ahead.
All right, Jeff, tell us about Tenma, your horse to watch, your star of tomorrow.
Well, Usha was her stablemate. She was 3-5. She was supposed to win. I would thought that in watching her train that she was a nice filly, but I thought they were kind of giving her one here. She's bred to run long. She's by Nyquist and out of an unraced Tappan mare. Second dam was by Galileo, a multiple stakes winner overseas. Really nice family there, and but all distance. And I don't know whether they ran in on him or she ran in on him or not. She was 6-1, but she certainly ran well. Beat another first-time starter who's going to be pretty good. Mancuso, Usha faded to third. Now Baffert, I think, probably was going to give her one, maybe stretch her out during the fall. All of a sudden now she is a winner, and now I don't think he'll run her back, and the debutante is too quick. But this is a filly that could show up in the Chandelier and then go from there. So I like her. Again, how can you not like Nyquist, and how can you not like a filly with a good moving, good size, nice stride on her, and definitely going to be better running longer than shorter. Good filly, and one to follow 10 Mile for Bob Baffert.
We've seen some fast and fleet 2-year-olds, as we do every summer, though. Question always is which one of those will go on longer. She looks like the kind of mold that will do so. Let's review our topics this week on It's Official. We started things off with our Showdown at the Spa, previewing the Travers Stakes. We're still trying to figure out our picks, but make me do it right now, and I'm leaning a little bit to the morning line favorite, that being Dornoch. Let's go to the West Coast Notebook. We reviewed the race of Ice Cream You Scream winning the Del Mar Oaks, and we looked ahead to some news about the Pacific Classic and the fact that we're going to see Muth in that race and his potential making a late run in the 3-year-old discussion. We talked about the Chosen Vaughn coming back this Saturday in the Pat O'Brien, where his challengers will not include the recently retired Arabian Night. Our Breeders' Cup tracker took us to the Alabama Stakes at Saratoga, where Power Squeeze and her sharp pedigree wore him down for her 5th victory of the season, beaten Candied. And we looked at Whistle Jacket winning the pre-morning and now headed to the Breeders' Cup Juvenile Turf Sprint, most likely for trainer Aidan O'Brien. Strike 3, he's out. We talked about the retirement of Rich Strike, 80-1 winner of the 2022 Kentucky Derby, and how his career could have went differently with different circumstances. And our star of tomorrow was the obligatory Bob Baffert trainee, Tenma, winning, and she looks like she's got a distant future. Those topics are now official because Jeff Siegel and I said so. That's the way we play the game, and we'll do it all again in a week's time when we take on 5 more hot topics. Between now and then, on Friday, Jeff and I will return for the First Call podcast. And what a Friday it's going to be, Jeff, when we get together for that handicapping session, because just Friday itself is the rescheduled King's Plate up at Woodbine, washed out mid-card. Our buddy Eddie Olczyk was there. He was all ready to report from his phone up at Woodbine for us, and everything just the skies opened up and everything was canceled. So we've got the King's Plate coming back on Friday. That's rescheduled. Already on the slate for Friday was the Personal Ensign at Saratoga, where we're going to see Idiomatic and a great field of Distaff Division runners. The Charlestown Classic, we're 7 figures with Skippy Longstocking back to defend his title, also on Friday night. So this is a big Friday to come. And then, of course, the weekend to follow with the Travers on Saturday.
It would be a heck of a Saturday if it were, but it's Friday. It's fun. We get good racing on Friday, great racing. Then we got the weekend, and of course, great weekend of racing at Saratoga on Saturday. A number of Grade 1 events. So we'll be diving in on those races on Friday on our First Call handicapping show, our podcast on that Friday morning. So lots to look forward to, and the first weekend of college football. So I'm in heaven. I don't know about you, Jeremy, but I'm in heaven.
I'm ready. I think if you count today, we're probably like 15, 16 days away from the opener for the Sooners coming up a week from Friday, a Friday night game. So, yeah, I'm jacked up for that for sure. If you want some more handicapping help for this weekend, Frank Carulli, former odds maker and track handicapper at Charlestown, is going to tackle the Pick 4 on Charlestown Classic night. So be sure to check out his blog later in the week if you want help with that Charlestown Classic card. Scott Shapiro's back. He's going to have some extra help for us. Eddie Olczyk will be back. They're going to be looking at Travers weekend and all the big races around the country, as well as Jeff's blogs each and every race day for Saratoga and Del Mar. So a lot of handicapping help coming your way at Express Bet and First Bet. On behalf of everybody with our team and my partner, Jeff Siegel, I'm Jeremy Plonk. We've got a lot of handicapping to do between now and Friday, so we're going to get to it. Have a great day, everybody.